I would like to welcome you all to the second webinar of the Biotech Spotlight series, which will focus on the emerging opportunities and existing ecosystems around cell and gene therapy in New India. This session will demonstrate India's expertise in the R&D ecosystem, provide insights on the regulatory processes, and showcase the various investment opportunities India has to offer. We are honored and privileged Shri N. Yuvraj, Joint Secretary of Department of Pharmaceuticals, Dr. Arkha Ghosh, Director of Grow Research Lab, Professor Rahul Panwar, Founder and CEO of ImmunoAct, and Dr. Manohar BN, MD and CEO of STEM Futures Research Private Limited. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Shri Vidya, Head of Biotech and Pharma at Invest India, to kindly deliver the opening remarks. Shri Vidya, over to you.
Thank you so much, Prajita. A very good evening to each one of you present today. It is absolutely a moment of extreme pleasure to welcome all the speakers and participants who are present here to attend this very important webinar. I think on behalf of the Invest India team, I offer regards to all the esteemed speakers who've, accepted this invitation and, decided to join us today. Just for the benefit of all, I would like to just take 10 seconds to introduce Invest India. Invest India is the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency of the Government of India, which act as the advisor, guide, and facilitator to every domestic and foreign investor who is looking to set up operations in India or looking to expand its operations in the country. Effectively, if I were to explain, we stand as the first point of contact for large global multilateral corporations with whom we work with them, from the first day when they start exploring India as the investment destination, and at every step throughout their journey in the world's most liberalized, investment destination. There has been a renewed focus on both biotechnology and pharmaceutical as the sector. And I think to drive this growth in the sector, there has been a special mechanism which has been set forth, which is called the Project Development Cell, which is an institutional mechanism to facilitate, investors in the country, which has been instituted by the Government of India, which is like, again, as I said, that it's supposed to have a very targeted approach in terms of how we attract investments in some of the important sectors like pharmaceutical and biotechnology. And happy to put forth to our audience that we have a dedicated mechanism, biotech and pharma project development cell set up both with Department of Biotechnology and Department of Pharmaceutical, which acts as like the central command center for all foreign investors and domestic investors who is looking to invest in India, and also who wants to understand of the new opportunities, policies, and various emerging trends which are arising from the sector. And, I think the Government of India has been very active in promoting both the biotech and pharma sector, as it's called, the moonshot sectors. And I think clearly with this setting up of these specialized cell, there is a strong focus on boosting the entire bioeconomy, which aims to achieve a target of 150 billion by 2025. And I think in line with the government's efforts for creating, various investment opportunities in various subsegments of biotech and pharma sector, Invest India team had brainstormed and decided to organize these set of webinar series under the banner, which is called Biotech Spotlight Series. And each of these series will be, focused on identified such segments, like today when we have cell and gene therapy. And this series, what it aims effectively is to bring all the thought leaders from the industry, academia, government to showcase the sectoral strength, the market opportunity, infrastructure, government initiatives, policies, and the kind of policy environment which potential investors should look across, from the globe to India. And I think today's schedule of the webinar will focus, as I said, on the cell and gene therapy, and it will include, deliberation on challenges, opportunities, and the policy changes or the mechanisms which have been put forward by the government and the industry. And I really wish this webinar enlightens us and provide us with new ideas to deal with the opportunity of tomorrow, as I see. Thank you all in advance, everyone who's made it possible to this webinar, and looking forward to hearing your views and opinions. Back to you, Prajita.
Thank you, Shri, for highlighting the role of Invest India, PDC, and the objective of this Biotech Spotlight series and giving us a background of the biotech industry in India, showcasing the tremendous growth and investment opportunities it possesses. Now, I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Arkha Shivra Ghosh, Director of Grow Research Lab and the Chief Scientist at Narayana Nethalya Foundation, to please take on the virtual stage. Dr. Ghosh Research Lab focuses on understanding the genetic molecular signaling mechanisms driving pathogenesis of molecular diseases and cancers. Dr. Ghosh, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. So, thanks for this invitation, and it's so good to be to see and be a part of this thing, because if there's one thing that we really need is investment in cutting edge healthcare technologies. So, by the way, can I share some slides, or do we just extempore it?
Sure, sir, you can. We'll just provide you the sharing rights.
Got it. So, can you see my slides?
Yes, sir.
Great. So, what I'll do is I'll jump quickly into what is gene therapy, and I'll briefly talk about what is cell therapy, but I know Rahul is on the panel, so he's going to tell you more about cell therapy aspects as well. So essentially, gene therapy is a treatment modality for hello? Okay. Yeah. Gene therapy is a treatment modality for diseases where genes are mutated or genes are dysfunctional. And there are 5 different ways in which you can do gene therapy. The most common way is where you insert a normal copy of the gene to compensate for a bad copy of the gene in your cells, in your tissues. So if you are blind and that's because of a defect in your photoreceptors, then you put back the gene that is defective and hope that you regain sight. But in case of cancers and things like that, or in case of acquired diseases where the expression of a gene goes bad over a period of time, which may be age related, there you change the regulation of genes. So I'm going to take an example of AAV vectors. That's what I work on. And what we do essentially is we hijack the mechanism of vectors and we remove all the virus's own genes. And we put a gene of our choice, which is a therapeutic gene. And then we pack the virus. And viruses, as you know, evolutionarily, they have evolved to be able to deliver their cargo very efficiently into cells. Right? So we simply hijack that mechanism. We put in our genes that we want, and that we use to inject to the site of the disease where hopefully the protein is expressed and you get therapy. Now, since the overall topic was cell and gene therapy, I thought I'll do a brief overview of cell therapies and how that links to gene therapy. So when we talk about gene therapy, we usually mean that it's therapy for where you're using some sort of a nucleic acid. It may be DNA, RNA, something. So in case of CAR immune cells, you modify the patient's cells with an expression cassette. And then this modified cell is now put into the patient for therapy. So this brings us to what are the different modes of gene therapy. So one is in vivo gene therapy, one is ex vivo gene therapy. So in case of in vivo gene therapy, we use the DNA or the RNA and package it into a vector. So it can be a virus, it can be a nanoparticle, it can be just the DNA itself, and you inject it to the site and hopefully get the therapeutic effect. In case of ex vivo gene therapy, you take out cells from the patient or from a population of people similar to the patient. And then you use those cells and fix the gene in those cells. And then you make a set of cells which are not mutated or which don't have the disease anymore and put it back into the patient. So that is ex vivo gene therapy. So that is what CAR T cells or CAR immune cells do. So in case of gene therapy or gene therapy products, as we call it, you have broadly, you have the viral vectors and you have the non-viral vectors. And the key things that we need in case of vectors is that we need adequate carrying capacity, so it can carry the gene that is to be delivered. Ideally, there should be no immune response. Hello, can you see this? Yeah. Ideally, there should be no immune response and it should be non-toxic. And poor internet. What happened? And then the gene design itself should be efficacious so that the disease phenotype is ameliorated. So with viral vectors and non-viral vectors, you have different pros and cons. In case of viral vector, it has a high transfection efficiency, but the disadvantage is that you have immunogenicity. In non-viral vectors, you don't have the immune response issues, but then the efficiency of gene delivery is poorer. So that brings us to where you would apply these gene therapy trials. So this is a set of data that's taken from genetherapy.net. And you can see the different kinds of vectors that are used for gene therapy trials around the world. And you'll see that most of these therapies are in North America and in Europe. There's quite a bit in China, but none in India. The next pie chart, this shows you the overall disease-wise segregation. So most of the effort is in cancer diseases. But monogenic disorders are becoming a very large segment now. And particularly in India, lots of groups are targeting monogenic diseases as well for gene and cell therapies. And finally, the phases of gene therapy trials. So the gene therapy around the world really has picked up essentially in the last couple of decades. So most of the trials are still in the early phases. So from an investment point of view, if you want to see what are the gene and cell therapies that are currently available, so in the blue box, you'll see all the cell therapy things, which are mostly targeted for hematological disorders. And in the orange box, you see a bunch of names here. These are names of the drugs that are approved, and these broadly fall in the gene and stem cell therapy or gene and cell therapy groups. And I've also put a few names of a few companies, international companies, which have a lot of products that are in development or already have it in the market. So what's important to remember, though, is that there is a giant hurdle in case of gene therapy. The primary hurdle being that gene therapies are extremely expensive. They're prohibitively expensive currently. So here in this table, you can see that the cost of gene therapy is close to $1 million or more than $1 million. And the most recent one, which is not in the table, Zolgensma, that's for SMA gene therapy, and that is 2.2 million US dollars. So the challenge really to bring gene therapy products in India is the cost barrier. So again, this is for those who are interested in investments. So the global cell and gene therapy market, it's expected to become close to $7 billion in the next couple of years. And a lot of that is driven by the age-related and cancer diseases. But the key problems that remain is the high cost of gene therapy products, and that is primarily because of the manufacturing and operational challenges that are there for making a complex drug like gene therapy. It's not as simple as a chemical. So there's a lot of patenting, there's a lot of technology around it. So the gene and cell therapy research landscape in India, I've just broadly put these names here just for people to take note. And, apologies to any whose names I have missed here. So for CAR T therapy, you have Rahul on board here. And there's a company called Liminal who is also doing CAR T therapy, then CMC Vellore, of course. Gene editing technologies are happening quite a bit at IGIB Delhi, and AAV-mediated gene therapies for hematological diseases, eye diseases, and muscle diseases. That's something that we do. And apart from us, there's a few more companies and few more institutes that are also now getting into that. For cell therapy in eye diseases, it's fairly well developed. There's quite a few companies, iStem, Pendorum, etc. And there's institutes like LVPI and Shroff Center at Delhi. So, and as far as I can tell, there's quite a few startups also that are working on different aspects of cell and gene therapy. But the primary lacuna that we have right now in India is availability of large-scale vector production facilities. The second thing, of course, is availability of raw materials and resources as well. So briefly, if you have to say how do we bring gene therapy into India, the first thing is that we should have the production facility for the gene therapy drugs. B, we should understand the regulatory processes. Thankfully, we now have the gene therapy guidelines, the national guidelines that are out there since end of 2019. So I urge everybody to take a look at those guidelines and understand the pathway. The third thing, of course, is in case of inherited diseases, establish the patient registries, and then, of course, create mediums of awareness, both within the clinicians, within the patient community, and within the pharma community and investment community about the need as well as the scope. So this is just briefly, I've put up what are the guidelines that have been published already by the government. The gene therapy guidelines came in 2019, but you also have all the cell therapy guidelines that have been available, and they are in the process of being updated. This is the gene therapy guideline. All right, so now briefly, I'll just mention the things that we work on. We work on ocular diseases and dystrophies and muscular dystrophies. So these are diseases where genes are mutated, so you end up being blind or you end up having a severe muscle disease, which can actually, is pretty debilitating.
Apologies to interrupt you, Dr. Ghosh, but
Yes.
in the interest of time, we would just request you to
we'll quickly jump to the end. Okay. So what we work on is AAV vectors, and these are vectors that are currently the gold standard for gene therapy around the world. So what we hope to do in India is that use these vectors to make gene therapy available in India. And in order to do that, you have to develop what is called a vector production facility. And that is most important for anybody who is going to invest in gene therapy in India. You should start with developing a vector production facility. So these should be clean rooms, and they should have the technology needed in order to do the gene therapy. All right, so with that, I will summarize on this slide. So this is a slide from the gene therapy guidelines itself. So this tells you what are the steps for doing gene and cell therapy in India. The primary thing is the GTP development. Then you have to get into GTP production, preclinical testing, and the clinical study design. So all of this information is available on the guidelines, and you can refer to a lot of literature as well to achieve this. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh, for providing such in-depth insights into the cell and gene therapy landscape in India and across the globe. I'm sure our audience has to benefit a lot from your presentation. May I now request Professor Rahul Purwar of the Bioscience and Bioengineering Department, IIT Bombay, and the founder and CEO of ImmunoAct to please provide his insights on the process development challenge and opportunities in India. Professor Rahul has previously worked as a scientist at the Department of Translational Medicine, Immunogen in United States, and his research work has been published in highly prestigious journals like Natural Science Journal or Immunology, etc. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Invest India team. Can you hear me? Just if you can confirm, then I can move on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So thank you, Aprajita, and thank you, the Invest India team, for inviting me and giving this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our experience. So I can, unlike Arkha, I can give you a little bit. I don't have a presentation, so I can just talk about it a little bit. About my journey, how I worked in academia, and how I have been still working in academia. I'm only on technical sabbatical leave, and how I set up the pharma, a startup company, and translating the gene therapy and cell and gene therapy product from academic lab to a clinic, basically, and ultimately our goal is to commercialize it. So I joined IIT Bombay almost 8 years back, where we have been working on a product called CAR T cells. These are cell and gene therapy. And CAR T cells are, in very simple language, these are the immune cells which are genetically modified. And these genetically modified T cells or immune cells are given to patients. And when they are given to patients, they eradicate the cancer. So in simple words, these are like almost like a targeted missiles, which are specifically go and kill the cancer cell or eradicate the cancer from the patient. So this project was started almost 8 years back in my lab as an academic project. But step by step, we have developed this CAR T product in India, in the academic lab in IIT Bombay. And when I started the work, there was no cell and gene therapy trial in India. There was none in India, which Arkha mentioned in one of his slides. There was nothing happening in the country. But we, step by step, we designed the product, developed all the processes in the academic lab, and finally reached to the clinic. So from academic research level, now we translated the product to the clinic. Now we are running the clinical trial. So we can proudly say that India has its first cell and gene therapy product in the clinic under testing. And we can tell you that we have already treated 10 patients almost, and we are seeing some good work there. And now, how to reach these expensive therapies to the patient who need it, right? So that's the biggest challenge. So first challenge is cost to academia to translate into the clinic. So academic research translated to the clinic. So the first milestone is achieved. Second milestone, how to translate this government funded work into a commercial entity, which is a startup. So thanks to Government of India for wonderful startup programs. That also milestone is achieved. Third was to get the funding, enough funding to make a industry scale work. So some of you may be knowing, we recently received around more than 55 crores from the Laurus Lab. So we have a funding now to translate or scale up of our work, which is recently being done. Now I think another big challenge is how to finally finish all the stages of clinical trial. Thanks to COVID, most of the audience now know that how the clinical trial works from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and ultimately goes to the large market. So In a nutshell, in one line, finally to summarize our work, we are bringing the most expensive therapy on the planet to India at an affordable price. So earlier Arkha mentioned the costing around 2 million per patient. It's so high that majority of us can't even afford it. $2 million per product per patient is humongous cost. Even CAR-T costs around $400,000, 475, so $500,000 per patient. Our goal is, can we reduce cost to 1/10 or 1/20th? That is our aim. And we hope that in very near future, we can bring this product to India. And we have at least put the India on the map of cell and gene therapy. If you say cell and gene therapy, does it happen in India? Yes, it does happen in India. We are running clinical trials. So the technology, indigenous technology is developed. Now we are testing it, it's validated. And I think now the scale up will happen with the funding that we received recently. So if you have any question, I can answer more specific question. But if one thing I can add for the government to add or invest in India to convey to the, I think the ministry which I think Srividya was mentioning, that can you have one window regulatory process? If you can convey to government of India that can we have simple one window regulatory process? So currently there's so many departments, DBT, RCGM is there, ICMR is there, DCGI, CDSCO there, and application move one pillar to post. Can we have CDSCO as one body which takes care of all the submission, and from there, wherever they want internally, they can do it. But applicant only go to one place and get his application, and all the things happen at one window. So if this is the only thing I would add, then thank you so much. Rest, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Professor Purvar, for sharing your extremely relevant work experience and highlighting all the key challenges and opportunities foreseen in cell and gene therapy in India. Now I would request Mr. Manohar BN, who is the MD and CEO of Stemputis Research Private Limited, which is a life science company focused on developing and commercializing novel therapeutics on adult stem cells, to please share his experience on commercializing the first cell therapy product in India. So over to you.
Thanks. And once again, good evening and good morning to the participants. I have a presentation. Maybe you can give me the, okay, good, thanks. So thanks, Rahul. Rahul was telling that how we can bring the product and make it affordable for the Indian patients. So we are already marketing our stem cell product in India, and we have brought down the cost by 1/20th, and still it costs around about 2 lakhs for the treatment of a particular disease called peripheral vascular disease. And even though it is 1/20th, still it is costly in India to pay 2 lakhs. So for a particular stem cell treatment, we are seeing that how we can still bring it down in India. So one of the biggest challenge in India is on the affordability. Once again, my name is Manohar. I head Stemputis, a leading regenerative medicine company based out of Bangalore. We have a stem cell platform technology for the development of treatment of immune-mediated as well as for the inflammatory diseases. So we can see the screen. Yep. So as informed by the other presenters, the landscape of cellular therapy is changing dramatically over the past few years and likely to continue to do so over the next decade. Many products are getting approved in cell therapy as well as in gene therapy. I mean, the previous speakers highlighted on the gene therapy. Even in the stem cell therapy, products are getting approved in South Korea, in Japan, and in Europe. Europe, we have Alofisel. In Japan, we have Temcel. All these products are based on stem cells. And in India, recently, our product has been approved for 2 indications. One is for the peripheral vascular disease, which is a critical limb ischemia. And the another product got approved is for the knee osteoarthritis. So we have started marketing the first product, and the second product will be in the market soon. So the landscape in India also is changing. And even though Rahul highlighted the regulatory mechanism is very complex, the government is working on how to make it a single window so that we can go to DCGI for any issues we have, and ultimately we get the approval. So the term cell therapy covers a range of products, starting from the hematopoietic stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells, iPSC, and modified T cells. The modified T cells have been covered by the previous two speakers, and I think the presentation is not going forward. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Hello?
can. Yes, sir.
Okay. Once again, something wrong. Okay. I don't know why. Okay, anyhow, I'll go through this. The slideshow mode is not working. So STEMPUDIS is working on the bone marrow derived MSCs, and we are focusing on anti-inflammatory and immunomodulatory diseases. We have a licensing agreement with two pharma companies. Cipla, we have signed an agreement to market the critical limb ischemia and diabetic foot ulcer, and with the Alchem Labs to market our knee osteoarthritis. There are many deals are happening in the stem cell area. We see what is happening globally. The leader in the stem cell area is Mesoblast, and they are doing many deals in China, in US, and also we have seen other companies. So similar opportunities also will emerge out of India. But what I see, one big opportunity for India is that we can become the global MSC manufacturing company, where we can reduce the cost of manufacturing and offer at a very competitive price. So I think this area is where India can focus, and we have a good CDMO, contract development and manufacturing organization in India, and we need to spend money as well as the expertise required to take a lead in the contract manufacturing when it comes to the cell therapy area. The technology, what we have been focusing is on stem cell technology, which is, there are many companies focusing on the mesenchymal stem cells, the competing company. So one big plus point is we have good scientists here in India, and we have developed something very novel compared to the other companies there in the US or in Japan, where we feel our technology can offer a better therapeutic potential because of the process what we have followed in generating the final product. So the stem cell product what we have developed out of India, out of Bangalore, it has been patented across multiple countries, starting from US, Japan, and a few European countries, of course in India. And also this technology allows to use the stem cell for the various indications, where we are currently used for the critical limb ischemia as well as for the knee osteoarthritis. So the point what I want to communicate is the India is strong in the R&D, and we need to promote the strength what we have, like people like Dr. Ghosh or Dr. Rahul Purwar. We need to communicate outside the world that people can come to India to develop something novel, and we have the expertise. In terms of the development experience, we have taken the product from bench to bedside, what we did on the bench to see what the stem cell can do. And we have gone through the entire process development of developing the product, and ultimately we are taken to the bedside. And now the people in India are getting benefited for some of the unmet medical needs. For example, if we take critical limb ischemia, there is a big gap. There is a big gap because these people suffer from severe pain, and because there is no blood flow in the peripheral arteries, and if you don't treat it, then the patient undergo the toe amputation or the leg amputation. So it is a really unmet medical need. There is no medicine available to treat critical limb ischemia because they are not amenable for angioplasty. They are not amenable for bypass surgery. So there is a requirement, and the stem cell therapy is filling that gap. But the key challenge is we have to go through the entire cycle of R&D, research and development, process development, manufacturing, and the preclinical and clinical research. So what I feel is now there is a good regulatory framework in India for developing and commercializing cell and gene therapies. So cell therapy has been published in 2017, and further it has been updated in 2019. And as other speakers told, the gene therapy guidelines are available. So government is also changing. Maybe can move much still faster to see that the products can be approved much faster, and also access to the clinical centers and hospitals to run a clinical trial. If you want to run a clinical trial, it costs around 15 crores. Suppose we want to do a phase 3 trial in India. If you want to do a trial with 100 patients, it costs around 15 crores. But same thing if you want to do outside India, if you want to do in the US, it costs about 15 to 20 times. So India can offer a cost-effective, bet in terms of how the clinical trial can be conducted with the good GCP norms, and particularly in cell and gene therapy, where we can handle it. And also the integrated development and manufacturing services with one-stop solution for cell-based cultures, cell-based products. So there are good companies like Kemwell and Syngene, where they're developing the expertise in the cell and gene therapy area. And of course, Rahul Purva is building a huge facility in Mumbai, where the companies from US, there's a company called MediImmune in the US, they are coming to India to set up a manufacturing facility to make the CAR T therapy affordable. So we can offer those kind of services, whether it is ImmunoAct or Stempeutics. We can offer those kind of services and the infrastructure to the companies outside India to make the product affordable. At the same time, we can offer our R&D experience to develop the various assays, to develop the potency markers, or even in terms of manufacturing for creating the cell banks, which is globally compliant. So I think India is has the experience, but I think we need to see how we can promote what India can do for the global customers, and how we can attract those people to India. In fact, now for the two products, for the critical limb ischemia as well as for the osteoarthritis, we are seeing how we are licensed in India. Now we are looking for global partners, how we can bring big pharma, we can tie up with them, and how what we have done in India, how we can take it to the global market. Another important point when it comes to the cell and gene therapy is the cold chain logistics. Is the cold chain logistics and transportation. So people have concerns that whether India can manage the cold chain in terms of maintaining the minus 196 is more than the vaccine, not more than the Pfizer vaccine, where you have to ship the cells. I think once again, we have the experience as well as the good logistics systems are available to transport within India from the manufacturing site to the hospital and maintain the temperature at the required level to ensure that ultimately the cell therapy is efficacious to the patient, and also how we can export. If we become the manufacturing hub, can we export in the cold chain outside India? So once again, there also, the companies here in India are gaining the experience, and we have shipped the cells to US, to Europe, Singapore, and Malaysia, and effectively, and see that how that can be transported and ultimately how it can be used in those countries. So this is another area where we are learning, and a critical thing which we need to resolve. And the last slide, and we covered on the regulatory side. I think the regulatory system is changing. The framework is changing. Now we go to DCGI for anything required to get the approval. Earlier it was we took almost about 2 years to get an approval for our first clinical trial. Now from 2 years, it has become now 6 months. Within 6 months, we can get the clinical trial approval. And sometimes even for the marketing approval, within 6 months, we can get the approval if we submit the dossier in a proper way. So things are changing in India, and I request Invest India to collect the expertise, what is available in India, and how collectively we can promote those expertise in order to attract investment into India. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar, for sharing the market dynamics of the cell and gene therapy and explaining the role of your company and providing us with a much larger picture of the industry. Now, I would request Shri N. Yuvraj, Joint Secretary of Department of Pharmaceuticals, to please highlight the government initiatives in the arena of cell and gene therapy in India. Sir, over to you.
So, good evening to all, and very happy to be participating in this particular series, Spotlight series on cell and gene therapy. First of all, thanks to Invest India and Srividya and team for giving the opportunity. And very good presentation by Dr. Arkha Ghosh ji, and also Mr. Manohar, and also Professor Rahul Purwar on the process, challenges, and the experience sharing, and also the strategic approach on the cell and gene therapy. So to give a prelude, first, Department of Pharma is a nodal for promotion of industry for pharmaceuticals as well as medical devices. We don't deal with any regulatory issues. As you know, that regulatory issues comes under Department of Health under CDCSO. And as told by Professor Rahul ji, that there are multiple regulators may be there as far as cell and gene therapies are concerned. So now, as told by Mr. Manohar, it may be getting streamlined, but still a long way to go, and we can have further more inputs or further more refinement also in the coming days. As a department, giving the task to promote the industries, including biopharmas, including cell and gene therapies, as far as the industry is concerned, not on the testing, not on the clinical trial, but on the industry is concerned. So we are having various schemes. I just listed one or two things, then we can go to the details also. First is as a department, you know that India is third largest by volume with respect to the pharmaceutical industry, and we are slowly growing up also. But the future lies in more innovative projects, especially on the cell and gene therapies, biopharmas, phytopharmaceuticals. So these are the futures lies where it lies. So both the industries, the industry players, as well as the government is also cognizant of this fact. And the entire our interventions or the future interventions or the policies or the schemes are going to be oriented on that direction only. Two. Second thing is that we already have a strong mechanism wherein if any of the redressal is required for any of the industries coming under the purview of our mandate, that is whether it's a pharma, biopharma, whatever industries, with respect to various things, we had under two banners. One is reducing the compliance burden. Another is also to have a facilitated role for the regulatory framework. So on these two banners, these two framework, we interact both with the industries as well as the various regulators to see that what can be reduced. So we are in regular touch with the industries as far as pharma or medical devices are concerned, and we take series of meeting with the counterparts of regulators of various ministries like environment, like health, like consumer affairs, like legal meteorology, and we're trying to reduce the compliance burden so the industry can flourish. Third thing, which means in this front we have done, we are doing also, and we are ready to do also for this particular manufacturing areas also, as far as the cell and gene therapy people are also concerned, because broadly, because you are going to for the permission or the manufacturing purpose to CDCSO, it will be framed under the pharma industry only, and we are ready to take care of that particular issues when things pending with the regulators. Also, we are ready to streamline, ready to spearhead that particular thing also. Third thing about the financial incentive or financial support, both for the R&D, product development, or manufacturing, or for clinical trials. So clinical trials broadly, it being the domain of the DBT, so they broadly take care of that one, including ICMR. But for if you see our website and the recent guidelines, when we floated in 2021 our PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme for the pharmaceuticals, we have asked for a specific from the specific application under the category 1 for the cell and gene therapies. we had various categories of the product, and one of the prominent category is a cell and gene therapy, where we requested the industries to respond. The scheme is now complete, and we are able to fill all the 55 slots wherever we are able to get it. But to share with you that we don't have a very enormous response on the cell and gene therapy side, because it is evolving in as you yourself told. But we told that there is a beginning has been made, and some people have applied some of the product also under the production linked scheme. Okay, so where we are already working on it. And finally, you told that India has a great opportunities for the outsourcing, for the contract manufacturing of which Mr. Manohar told, the contract manufacturing, we have a great opportunity, and also we can facilitate. So I request Invest India, we can collect the such notes from the participants. I request from the forum also to Mr. Manohar as well as Mr. Rahul as well as Mr. Ghosh to share the materials through Invest India to us. Or you can directly share also, so that we are able to go through it and see what best can be done for the industry to flourish. Okay, there may be some lacuna or something in the existing policy which we can bring to the discussions also. And the last issue is, which from my side is that there is no single repository. Maybe the industry players may be knowing who is doing what. We have under the department, we have NIPERS. You know, NIPERS, everybody knows. We have National Institute, which is a National Institute of Institute of National Importance, we have National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, and we are also bringing a policy on R&D and innovation, both in pharma and medtech sector. This policy has been floated in the public domain. We got inputs also. We had a industry interaction also, which is conducted by Invest India only. So we have a lot of inputs there. But I request there can be an online repository, a database of who is doing what on cell and gene-based therapy across the country. Your mapping can be done, and so that our institution can be a part of this particular initiative, so that we are able to do. Now, finally, when Mr. Manohar presented that there are a lot of opportunity, I think not Manohar, I think when Mr. Ghosh presented, there are a lot of opportunity for the startups where they are very much interested for the vector development or reducing the immuno rejection. So there are people are working. So we are also interested if any such thing is there, whether any facilitation is required. So we will be able to facilitate also. I just wanted to tell two things that under the medical device park, 4 states have been given 100 crores each, where all the state government are going to have inbuilt plug and play incubation centers inside their park. Okay, these park can be utilized because, like, you know, maybe IIT Mumbai may be having one park, and maybe IIT Chennai may be having one more park on medical devices where the startups are already working. But we require more such things. So we are already supporting to the state governments, especially Tamil Nadu, Himachal. We have one in UP, and we have also even Madhya Pradesh also, where the land cost is also less, and the state is bound to develop these facilities. So the institution like IIT Mumbai can be one of the technical partner with this particular state government for developing this one, so that when a plug and play facilities are created, it can be favoring to this sort of startups as well. So these are the important thing. But it is very happy to know. I have done my PG from animal physiology. I'm a veterinary doctor, but I know that so many things are happening. And in the previous tenure, I worked in health department also, where we were thinking about this thalassemia and other things, and also like SMA, where they told that SMA is also planning to address. Yes, that present available treatment is highly prohibitive, but still, with the development it goes through in the country, and with the population we are going to have in the next 50 years, and the level of prevalence of these particular ailments and diseases going to contribute majorly. So cell and gene therapy is going to make an important contribution to make the people to lead a quality life. And so I again once again thank the Invest India for giving me the opportunity. I will also bring the proceeding of this particular meeting and your presentation to the notice of the Honorable Secretary, so that we know how we can take it forward also. And thank you very much to all the participants and also to Invest India. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing such great insights into the various initiatives and scheme provided by the Government of India to promote the cell and gene therapy industry. We will definitely act on the points mentioned by you, sir. As we are at the end of the webinar, I would like to thank all our esteemed speakers, leaders from the industry and academia for participating with us in this webinar of the Biotech Spotlight series. I would request our audience members to send their questions to Invest India team, and we will be happy to take them forward with our speakers. I would also like to point out that in our next webinar, we'll be highlighting the sectoral strength and market opportunities of the vaccine sector in India. Now, I would just request all our esteemed speakers to kindly switch on their cameras for a minute so we can capture this webinar. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to a fruitful association. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.